Welcome to tonight's episode of Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, and as always, I have a very special guest for you, Ms. Dwimoh, who's running for Brooklyn DA. She'll be with us for the next 30 minutes, so stay with us. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Beyond Focus TV allows you to discuss contemporary topics affecting the Caribbean people on both a national and local level. The show features informed guests who offer insight, debate, and evaluate various issues. Beyond Focus TV builds on the station's mission to provide useful information to the Caribbean people in New York and abroad. Beyond Focus TV, where our viewing audience can get educated, informed, and empowered. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel. And like I said, voting is coming up soon. The big day is September 12th, and we have one candidate running here for Brooklyn DA, Ms. Dwimoh. Welcome to Beyond Focus.
Thank you, Lydia. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you here. We love to see people coming in, trying to do something positive. You know, Brooklyn DA is a big role, of course. You know, for those who don't know, unfortunately, former DA Ken Thompson passed away back in October. Sadly, so I kind of left the position. They had an interim DA.
Exactly.
Standing in for him.
Yes.
But of course, you need to permanently fill that. So that's why you're here today, to kind of share your message, let everyone in Brooklyn know what you'll be bringing to the table.
Well, this is an exciting time, although bittersweet, because our Honorable Ken Thompson, our former DA, he had done such a fantastic job. But as we move forward now, we have to look at where we are in terms of Brooklyn, how Brooklyn is growing. You know, Lydia, do you realize that Brooklyn is the third largest city in America?
I gotta say, I kind of had a feeling. You know, we always kind of brag about it. It's like Brooklyn runs the world. We know that Brooklyn should be the capital. Yeah. But you know, we joke about that. But it's great to see statistically proven that it actually is the third largest. Is it number one for most expensive? Because it pretty much is.
I know. That's a whole other conversation. But when I think about criminal justice, I think about the impact that Brooklyn will have, not just in Brooklyn and not just in New York City, but nationally. So one of the reasons why I'm running for district attorney, well, let me just back up for a moment. Just so you know, I'm a former prosecutor.
Okay.
I was a prosecutor in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn DA's office for 21 years.
Oh, so you're very familiar with the Hines administration.
Exactly. Well, I was in the Hines administration because he was the district attorney for Brooklyn for over 2 decades. But while I was at the district attorney's office, I created something that had never been created before in New York State, and that was the Crimes Against Children Bureau, which was so important because children, especially children under the age of 11, were the voiceless. They didn't have any voice within the criminal justice system, and they were victims of different types of crimes, but the most horrific bits of crime. One of the biggest cases that Brooklyn saw in terms of crimes against a child was the case of Nix Mary Brown, who was a 7-year-old who was brutally murdered in Bedford-Stuyvesant, and that was one of the cases that I was the lead prosecutor on. But you know, it is the commitment to the children and to the families. So you know, Lydia, what I found out was when I worked with children and families and mothers, is that when children are safe, that actually means that the families, the adults around them, are stable. And when the adults are stable, that means communities have an opportunity to thrive. So it really does bring all of this to what we're doing within the criminal justice system, centered around community and family.
So for you, that's great that you have 20 plus years actually in the legal system.
Yes.
So that's something important. Not that it's mandatory, but it kind of shows that pillar of, you know, you have a good foundation.
Yes. You know, I have the experience, and I've dealt with a subject matter that was really not just emotional, but impactful onto the community. And also, I understood what it means to deal with stress, you know, which is you have to be a very multitasked person in order to move forward within this criminal justice system. One of the things I plan on doing as district attorney is I want to rebuild the trust between community and the district attorney's office. You know, I know you've heard about this. 23 people have been wrongfully convicted out of the Brooklyn DA's office. And that's left like a ripple effect amongst the community because people don't trust the district attorney's office.
And those people who served, it wasn't like 2 years or
No.
5. Even if you rob 2 years of my life, that's still 2 years of my life. But we wish it was 2 years. These are like 20 plus years.
Yes, it's horrific. And like you said, even we'll just break it down even more. One day one day could change your life in terms of how it impacts you within the criminal
whole
justice
thing
system.
of just going through that
Yes.
and then having, you were found guilty, knowing all this time you really didn't do
Yes,
something.
yeah.
You lost 20 years of your life or whatever amount of
Exactly.
time you missed out on your children.
Exactly.
Trying to get back into the system.
Exactly. And so this becomes really important because what I plan on doing, first of all, I have to applaud the work that the late Ken Thompson did in creating the Conviction Review Unit. So he created a mechanism where they were able to actually review cases, and there's so many more to review, and exonerate, many men, most of them are men of color, by the way, who are wrongfully convicted. But I want to take it to another level. And I want to create an independent commission that will review the work and the role that the criminal justice system played. What people did. The lawyers, whether they're prosecutors, especially if they're prosecutors, because that's really where it lies, and law enforcement. And this becomes important because the community needs to know that we're not just stopping at just identifying people who have been wrongfully convicted and giving them having them exonerated. What we're going to do is we're going to hold the system accountable, and this is critical. Now, some people will say, some of these cases are so old, how can you do that?
Right. Some judges or the attorneys or
Yes.
the witnesses have passed
Yes,
on.
yes.
So how do you even go about that?
Well, I think when you have an independent commission, we're going to review the roles of everyone, because you can learn at what point people did what. Many times, some of the judges have said that prosecutors didn't act appropriately, law enforcement detectives didn't act appropriately. Now we need to know what was done, but what's the key here is the transparency. The community now knows. And it's really important that the community sees us engage within the criminal justice system, being willing to hold ourselves accountable. And I think from there, we will learn more about how this can never happen again, because that's really the key.
That is very true. You want to see just more positive things happen.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's something that you would continue, that you may retain from his previous tenure and move forward with
Yes,
that.
I'm going to move forward with the Conviction Review Unit, with the review. What I'm bringing new to the table is this independent commission that will actually do another review, but now it's reviewing the role of the people who were involved in all of the wrongful convicted cases. And that's important.
That is important, but many might think, well, what really happened? Because isn't that kind of basically cracking down on the fraternity itself?
Well, you can look at it that way. And I really don't want the community to view prosecutors and lawyers as a fraternity, because in order for us to move forward, we have to work in partnership. So I think what becomes really important is that we identify the roles, we see what happens, and this is going to be an independent body, which becomes key. They'll review, and then they'll make recommendations. So it may be, recommending people go before the grievance committee. So as attorneys, that's what guides our conduct as attorneys. If criminal charges are warranted, then that would also be recommended. But it's important that the community begins to understand, especially those who are wrongfully convicted. Here they are. They spent 20 years in jail. 30 years in jail for a crime they didn't commit, and it's not enough just to exonerate them. They're entitled to really understand and feel that cloak of justice.
Absolutely. And like you said, an apology is not going to do it.
It's not enough.
That does not give me back my time.
No. And that's why we go back to the concept that justice matters. And
Exactly.
It matters no matter how long ago it was, or delayed, and it matters because if we hold the community and the prosecutors, the criminal justice system accountable, people will start to trust the system, and we can work hand in hand together, and that's essential.
Well, hold that thought. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, sitting here with Dwimoh, who's running for Brooklyn DA. The big date is September 12th, so make sure you mark your calendars. You're going to want to go out there. You're going to register to vote. I think they have that's the first step, right?
Absolutely. And you can register up until this Friday. So registration ends soon.
Okay, so for those who do you physically have to go in person? Let's walk them through the steps to make sure everybody can get on there.
Well, they have to fill out. There's an application that they fill out, and they just make sure that they get it to the Board of Elections downtown Brooklyn. I believe it's by Friday.
Okay. So it's coming up soon. Yes. So then you definitely want to make sure you register, because as much as the mayor and all those other roles do matter as well, I think on a localized level that affects everyone day to day. It's your councilmen, it's your DAs. Those are your real, kind of the meat and potatoes of it.
Absolutely. And, I have to actually say that the district attorney's race is probably the most important race, because it impacts our day-to-day lives in our community. Our community at large is impacted by the criminal justice system. So who serves as your prosecutor is key, because you need a prosecutor who doesn't just have the experience, but also understands the people, the issues that impact the people, and how the criminal justice system works. It's key.
So let's take a moment and kind of educate those at home, because as much as I think things have gotten better on the political scene and we're more involved, and through social, you're getting a lot of younger people involved. Some people still don't even understand what the role of the DA really is. So I kind of would like to take a moment and just have you kind of, in your words, kind of break it down. What is the function of a district attorney?
Well, it's twofold, and I'm glad you asked this question, because I'm going to broaden even the role of a traditional district attorney. District attorneys are there to enforce the law, and if, let's say, someone commits a crime, then it is the responsibility of the district attorney to bring charges and go through the criminal justice system. So, for instance, if someone committed a robbery or a burglary or, unfortunately, a homicide, it is the prosecutor who brings forth the charges, and the prosecutor has the burden of proof to prove the person's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, the person who stands accused has a defense attorney. They have an attorney who represents their interests, but it is the prosecutor who moves forward. So traditionally, people believe prosecutors are just locking people up.
Yes.
But it's bigger than that. We're kind of
taught to be a little standoffish on that. They're not working for us,
Right, but in fact, we are. Because it's about the rule of law, and it's about ensuring that the community is safe, but also that justice is meted out fairly. And this becomes important, because justice looks far differently than what we traditionally think about. Your affordable homes, affordable housing, that impacts your justice. Ability to get a job, that impacts your justice. Having services readily available to you impacts your justice. So I want to, and I call it proactive justice, and that is, it's about prevention. We have so many young people now who end up in Rikers Island, and for the first time they're getting treatment for mental health issues, drugs. Rikers is not a place for that. We need to be on the forefront and be proactive. So we need to partner with clergy, community groups, and I want to have little DA's offices, just like community centers where people can have access, so we can bring programs to people. You see, when the community is connected to resources, they have a chance to really thrive, and their lives can be better and stronger. They won't end up in the criminal justice system, because that's not a place to get treatment for mental health. We need to get that elsewhere.
And that's very, very true, and that's amazing you bring that up, because I think that's another issue that kind of goes under the rug.
Yes.
And we don't want to face it, especially more in the Black community. It's still, I don't want to say it's taboo, but to say you have a mental issue or you're depressed even, to be like, oh, snap out of it, you know?
Right.
And I'm like, no, sometimes you really do need some help.
And I'll tell you, it actually is not even just in the Black community. A lot of communities don't want to face these kind of issues, whether they're drugs or mental health, or even when I think about the safety of our children, child abuse, because that has impacted every zip code, every community throughout Brooklyn, and how we treat our children and our youth.
And I think ACS has done a great job really intervening.
Yes.
It would seem like there's more cases. In one hand, it's more cases have gone up to a certain degree, but that's because they're